The forest wasn't what it used to be. Once a playground of laughter, beatboxing battles, and muddy memories, it now echoed with urgent footsteps and hushed gasps. Twisted roots clawed up from the dirt like crooked fingers, and the trees, once friendly giants, now seemed to whisper dark secrets with every rustle of wind. Pinky stumbled through a narrow trail, gripping Simon's hand like a lifeline. Leaves and shadows danced over her face, which was streaked with dried mud and sweat. "Come on, Pinky, I'm using all my strength," Simon gasped, his voice cracking with effort. "Just a little further," Pinky said, breathless. "We're almost there." Behind him, Orrin let out a low groan and collapsed against a mossy boulder. His breathing was shallow and his shirt was soaked with blood. Simon immediately dropped to his knees beside him. "What happened to him? Who did this?" Simon demanded, panic rising in his voice. Orrin winced, trying to sit up. "It was Kiki. She's not herself anymore." Pinky's eyes widened. "No, that can't be. Kiki would never hurt anyone." Orrin looked at her, pain etched into every line of his face. It wasn't her. It was something else. Inside her. Simon's fists clenched. Black. That name chilled the air around them. Black, the whisperer, the manipulator. He was once just a rumor, a bedtime story. Now he was real, and he was winning. Pinky stood up, wiping sweat from her brow. Her voice was steady despite the storm brewing in her chest. "I'm going to fix this." "Pinky, wait. You can't go alone," Simon shouted. She turned and smiled, just slightly. "You know I have to." And then she vanished into the forest. She moved fast, like a shadow through the tangled woods. The deeper she went, the colder it became. The trees grew denser, the light faded, and the whispers started. "You can't do it. You're just a child. They've already chosen the dark." Pinky gritted her teeth. "Shut up." She came to a place she had only heard about in stories, the hollow tree. It stood alone in a clearing, its bark blackened, its branches bare even in summer. This was where the core was said to be hidden, an artifact of immense power, a source of healing or destruction. The base of the tree was split open, revealing a faint, pulsing glow. Pinky hesitated only a moment before crawling inside. The air was thick with energy. Inside the tree, nestled in a web of glowing roots, was the core. It looked like a crystal orb, but it vibrated like a heartbeat. It felt alive. She reached out. The moment her fingers touched it, light exploded around her. A current of warmth surged through her arm, wrapping around her wrist like a glowing ribbon. She gasped, "What is this?" Symbols etched themselves into her skin, runes older than language. Her pulse quickened. She wasn't just holding power, she was becoming part of it. But she wasn't alone. Far across the forest, in a shattered mirror hanging from dead vines, Black saw it all. His thin lips curled into a smile. "So she touched it. Perfect." He turned to Kiki, who stood motionless behind him, her eyes glazed with blue light. "She'll come back," he whispered to her, "and when she does, you'll be ready." Pinky emerged from the tree, breathless, heart pounding. She didn't feel stronger, she felt connected to everything, the roots, the sky, the pain in her friends. She ran back faster than ever. When she returned to the hideout, Simon was tending to Orrin, who was conscious but pale. "I got it," she said, showing him the glowing core. "We can save him." Simon looked up, eyes full of hope. "You did it." "I think so." But before she could activate it, a crackling voice echoed through the trees. "You shouldn't have come back." Kiki stepped into view. She looked the same, but her presence was wrong. Her hair floated slightly as if underwater. Her eyes were too bright. "Kiki?" Pinky asked. Kiki tilted her head. "That's not my name anymore." Wenda, who had just arrived with Gray, gasped. "She's been possessed. It's not Kiki, it's Black." Kiki raised her hand. A blast of energy sent them all tumbling. The core flew from Pinky's hand, landing near a tree. Orrin groaned, "We have to stop her." Pinky scrambled to her feet. She locked eyes with Kiki. "You're still in there, I know you are." "Don't be naive," Kiki sneered. "The world doesn't belong to children anymore." "Yes, it does," Pinky growled, stepping between her and the core. "It belongs to anyone who hasn't forgotten how to care." Kiki's energy surged. Pinky lunged. The war had begun. The air was still crackling as Pinky rolled behind a tree, barely dodging another pulse of Kiki's corrupted energy. Bark exploded beside her. Leaves burned at the edges. The core flickered a few feet away. "Simon, distract her," Pinky shouted. Simon, coughing from the blast, scrambled upright. He grabbed a stick and tossed it at Kiki's feet. "Over here, spark brain!" Kiki's head snapped toward him. Her eyes no longer blinked. "I am not Kiki," she said, her voice distorted, layered with a second, deeper voice. "I am evolution." "Oh, great," Simon muttered. "She's got a villain monologue mode." While Kiki floated toward Simon, Pinky bolted for the core. The moment her fingers touched it again, a surge of warmth rushed up her spine. This time, she didn't flinch. "Kiki," she shouted, "you remember our friendship bracelets? The ones with glitter glue and lopsided stars?" Kiki hesitated, just slightly. Pinky stepped closer. "You cried when yours snapped. I gave you mine. You said it made you feel strong." A flicker, her hands trembled. "Lies," Black roared through her. "We do not need weakness." But the core responded to Pinky's voice. A beam of blue light shot from her chest, striking Kiki square in the heart. For a moment, time held its breath. Then Kiki screamed. She collapsed to her knees, gasping. The blue light vanished from her eyes. "Pinky?" But Black wasn't finished. A shadow burst out of Kiki's back, snarling. It morphed into a towering figure, skeletal, smoky, and furious. "I warned you," the shadow howled. "This world belongs to the broken." Simon ran to Kiki and pulled her to safety. "Now what?" Pinky looked around. "We need everyone." Gray appeared from the woods, dragging a cart full of boombox parts. "You called?" "Let's build the Harmony engine," Pinky said. "The one we dreamed about, a machine that runs on Unity." Wenda and Oren limped into view. "We're in," Wenda nodded. "One last beat." While Black's monstrous form raged, the crew assembled the device with glowing wires, speaker shells, and pieces of their childhood, a slingshot, a comic book, even Simon's broken sunglasses. They stood in a circle. "We each take a beat," Pinky said. "Every voice matters." Gray began, a slow, heavy bass. Oren layered in a steady pulse. Wenda added melodic rhythm. Simon followed with a beat full of hope. Pinky closed her eyes and added the final sound, a soft, pure tone that rang like memory. The Harmony engine lit up. A blast of light exploded outward, striking the shadow. Black let out a piercing shriek as parts of him disintegrated. "You couldn't erase me," he screamed. "You were never real," Pinky said. "You were fear, doubt, but we remember who we are." Black shattered. Ashes fell like glitter. Kiki stirred. "What happened?" Pinky knelt beside her. "You came back. I hurt you. You also saved us." The group gathered, silent, tired, alive. Simon looked up. "So are we growing up now?" "Maybe," Wenda said, "but let's not grow away." Grace smirked. "No more fake mustaches." They all laughed. Pinky stood. She held the core to her heart. "We'll grow up," she said, "but never outgrow each other." And the forest, for the first time in what felt like forever, exhaled. The forest glimmered with a strange calm, the kind that only comes after a storm. Trees stood taller, the sky lighter, and even the moss seemed to hum with relief, but the silence wasn't still. It was waiting. The group sat in a clearing, circled around the core as it pulsed gently. Kiki leaned against a tree, her eyes downcast. No one blamed her, but the weight of what had happened still hung heavy. "I don't know how to say sorry big enough," she said. "You don't have to," Pinky replied. "You were lost. We found you." Gray tossed a stick into the fire. "The world almost broke. Again. What if it's not over?" "It's not," Oren said. "We still have the fever to deal with." Wenda glanced at the horizon where the pink and purple hues bled together. "Grown-up fever. It's still out there. You can feel it. That pressure, that pull." Simon adjusted his scarf dramatically. "Like society wants to mold us before we're ready. Trade joy for cool, trade play for perfection." Pinky stood. "Then we remind them what real growing up looks like. Not giving up joy, but growing with it." They made a plan. Visit the scattered camps, the villages that had fallen under the spell of fast-forward growth. Help others remember their roots. First stop, Mud Hill. A place once known for its legendary mudslides and playground wrestling rings. Now, sterile, quiet. Kids wore business jackets. No laughter. As the group walked through the town square, a child passed by holding a clipboard. "Do you know where we can find the mayor?" Pinky asked. The kid looked him over. Do you have an appointment? Simon blinked. What happened to the hopscotch chalk paths? The kid pointed, illegal, too whimsical. Okay, that's it, Wyndham muttered. They gathered the town's kids in the old amphitheater. Pinky climbed to the stage. She held up the core. This isn't just a tool. It's a reminder that joy isn't childish, it's powerful. The core shimmered, images projected into the sky. Memories of mud fights, team songs, hide and seek under the moonlight. One by one, kids removed their ties, laughed, jumped into puddles. The fever cracked like melting ice. They traveled on, to Beat Lock, to Glimmer Glen, to Tinker Patch. In each place, they brought rhythm and color, story and song. The harmony engine followed them on wheels, glowing with each restored memory. But with each success, something darker stirred. Black wasn't entirely gone. In a distant cavern beneath the earth, where echoes lived longer than sound, a single ember of shadow flickered. It pulsed. It remembered. They think they've won, the whisper hissed, but joy can be twisted. Back at camp, Kiki began hearing things, a soft hum, a familiar itch. I think he's still in me, she confessed to Pinky. Pinky took her hand, then let's face him together. They sat by the fire. The group circled him. We'll go into the dreamscape, Orange said. It's where echoes live and where he hides. You'll need anchors, Wenda added, something that ties you to who you are. Kiki pulled out her friendship bracelet, tattered but intact. Pinky held up her first drawing, a stick figure team with sparkly stars. Simon grinned, and I brought snacks. They linked hands. The core pulsed. Light surrounded them. The dreamscape opened. They stepped into a world made of shifting colors, memory shards, and drifting laughter. But lurking in the cracks was black, no longer giant, but sly. Why fight me, he said. I offer safety, control, strength. You offer fear, Pinky said, wrapped in silence. We lunched, but this time Kiki stood firm. She held out her bracelet. You don't get to define me. And with the full power of her memory, she struck him. Black shattered again, this time without scream or spark. Just silence, then peace. They awoke in the forest. The fire still glowed. Kiki smiled. He's gone, really gone. Pinky nodded. And we're still here together. Simon popped a cookie. Guess we're ready to grow up our way. They all laughed. The morning after their dreamscape victory was quiet, almost too quiet. The sun peeked through the treetops like it was unsure it was welcome. Birds chirped but cautiously, as if even nature was afraid of waking what might still be sleeping. Pinky sat by the fire, tracing circles in the dirt. The core rested beside her, calm and dim for the first time in days. Kiki stirred awake, rubbing her eyes. Did it really happen? Simon, chewing on a stick of dried berries, nodded. We saved the world. Again, no big deal. Wenda smirked. Just a regular Tuesday, huh? Oren looked around. It feels different. Grace stretched. It is, but we're not done yet. They didn't realize the last battle would be the most personal. It wasn't about defeating Black anymore. It was about deciding who they wanted to become. Not who the world told them to be, but who they chose to be. Now, that choice came faster than expected. One morning, while crossing a wide meadow near the border of Laffridge, a wave of fog rolled in. Not natural fog. It shimmered, it whispered. Each whisper came with a different message. You are not enough. They only like you when you're funny. You peaked in second grade. The teens slowed, glancing around nervously. Wenda was the first to fall to her knees. My art, it never mattered, did it? She mumbled. Grace stumbled into a tree, clutching his chest. I'm replaceable. Kiki froze, her bracelet glowing dimly. It's the fog. It's not real. It's a test. Simon shouted through the haze. Don't believe it. It's just fear dressed like truth. Pinky pulled the core from her bag. Its light flickered, dim and uncertain. Then she did something no one expected. She set the core down. It doesn't matter if this glows, she said. What matters is that we do. She reached out, grabbed Kiki's hand, then Simon's. One by one, they formed a circle. Hands, hearts, eyes closed. They didn't chant. They just remembered. The time Wenda stayed up all night drawing superhero capes. The time Gray built a bridge out of spoons. The time Orrin cried during a sad movie and Pinky handed him a leaf as a tissue, they remembered themselves. And slowly the fog faded. When they reached Laffridge, the village greeted them with suspicion. The children had grown into stiff versions of themselves. Everyone wore uniforms. No one smiled. A tall girl stepped forward. Her name was Vicky. She was the self-declared queen of growth. "You may not enter unless you pass the maturity test," she declared. "What test?" Simon asked. "A test of logic, productivity, and suppression of unnecessary emotions." Wenda rolled her eyes. "So, the opposite of life?" Pinky stepped up. "We don't need to pass. We came to remind you what you forgot." With a flick of her wrist, she tossed the core into the air. It hovered, spun, and then began to pulse. A wave of colors burst forth, washing over the crowd. One boy dropped his calculator. Another girl gasped and reached for her old jump rope. Laughter erupted, like it had been trapped in the dirt, waiting to bloom. Vicky tried to stop it, but her voice trembled, then cracked, then turned into a giggle. "I missed tag," she whispered. The harmony engine rolled into the square. Beat by beat, the town changed. Kids danced, adults joined, and for the first time in years, Laffridge lived up to its name. That night, the team lay in the grass under a canvas of stars. "We did good," Orrin said. "We did better than good," Pinky smiled. "We remembered who we are." Gray looked thoughtful. "What happens now?" Kiki twirled her bracelet. "Now, we keep reminding others and ourselves, because forgetting is easy. Remembering is brave." They all nodded, and somewhere deep underground, the last ember of shadow tried to flicker. But there was no fear left to feed it. It faded,